Tucked away in a quaint little town, surrounded by lush forests and rolling hills, there existed a peculiar phenomenon that had been whispered about for generations. The locals spoke in hushed tones about the eerie messages that would occasionally invade someone's cell phone late at night, messages that sent a chill down the spine of anyone who received them. These messages spoke of events yet to unfold, long-buried secrets, and an ominous presence that seemed to lurk in the shadows, preying on unsuspecting souls. Unbeknownst to me, a young woman seeking solace from the chaos of city life, I was about to be drawn into the depths of this town's darkest secret. One fateful evening, as I found myself nestled in the cozy embrace of my cottage, the silence was shattered by the unfamiliar buzz of my phone. Intrigued, I unlocked the device to discover a string of messages from an unknown sender. The first message sent a shiver cascading down my spine, its words etching themselves into my consciousness. "I see you, dear." My eyes darted around the dimly lit living room, searching for any signs of an intruder, but there was no one to be found. With a pounding heart, I continued to read the next message, each word intensifying the feeling of unease that had settled upon me. "Alone in the dark, aren't you?" A wave of terror washed over me when I realized that the sender of these messages seemed to have an eerie knowledge of my whereabouts and activities. Despite my attempts to rationalize the situation, the sense of unease persisted, casting a dark shadow over my thoughts. Disregarding the messages, I sought solace in a book, but every little sound in the room made me startle. Suddenly, my phone buzzed once more, displaying a bone-chilling message that sent shivers down my spine. "I can hear your heartbeat. It's getting louder." Panic coursed through me as I frantically scanned the room, my eyes darting around in search of any sign of an intruder. Though there was no one in sight, the sensation of being observed was overwhelming, instilling a deep sense of dread within me. In a state of desperation, I reached out to my friend Amy, my voice quivering as I recounted the unsettling messages I had been receiving. Despite her attempts to reassure me, suggesting it was a mere prank or technical glitch, the suffocating blanket of fear continued to weigh heavily upon me. As the night dragged on, my phone incessantly buzzed with a series of chilling messages. "You cannot elude me, my dear. I am constantly observing." My eyes welled up with tears as I barricaded myself in the room, clutching onto the phone as if it were my only lifeline. I desperately attempted to rationalize the situation, but any logical explanation seemed feeble in the face of the mounting certainty that something wicked was haunting me through the digital realm. In a final act of desperation to seek some semblance of safety, I dialed the police, my voice trembling as I recounted the harrowing ordeal. The officer on the other end of the line tried to offer reassurance, assuring me that help was on its way. But even their words couldn't dispel the overwhelming sense of dread that hung heavily in the air. Time seemed to stretch on endlessly as I sat huddled in the room, my gaze fixated on the phone, anxiously awaiting another message to materialize. Yet the screen remained ominously dark, and the silence only served to amplify my fear, leaving me in a state of profound unease. As I dared to hope that perhaps it had all been a terrible dream, the phone emitted one final buzz, casting an eerie glow that filled the room. With trembling hands, I unlocked the device only to be confronted by a chilling message that sent shivers down my spine. "I'm coming for you, my dear, and this time there will be no escape." Before I could even react, the lights flickered and vanished, plunging the room into an abyss of darkness. My heart raced in my chest as I clung onto the phone, gasping for breath. Suddenly, from the depths of the blackness, I heard it. The slow, deliberate footsteps drawing nearer, accompanied by a menacing whisper that sent chills down my spine. Fear consumed me as I realized that the nightmare was far from over. The relentless stalker had found me, and there was nowhere left to hide. As the darkness enveloped me, I desperately whispered a plea for help into the void, praying that someone, anyone, would hear my cries before it was too late. But in the dead of night, gripped by terror, my words were swallowed by the silence, leaving me utterly alone to confront the horrors lurking in the shadows. In the oppressive blackness of the room, my heart hammered against my ribs like a caged bird. I sensed the presence drawing nearer, its sinister energy saturating the air like a toxic mist. With shaky hands, I reached for my phone, my only connection to the outside world in this abyss. As I grasped the familiar device, the screen flickered to life, casting a feeble glow that barely pierced the darkness. Holding my breath, I scanned the room, my eyes wide with dread, scouring for any hint of the unseen terror lurking in the shadows. Yet, there was nothing but the heavy silence of the night, interrupted solely by the sound of my own uneven breaths. Was it all a product of my imagination? A result of fear and exhaustion playing tricks on my mind? Just as a glimmer of hope flickered in my mind that perhaps it was all a figment of my imagination, a sudden movement caught my eye, shattering that fragile belief. With a muffled gasp, I spun around, my heart racing as I strained to discern the shape looming in the darkness. And there it stood, a shadowy figure, its outline warped and unclear, resembling a phantom born from the depths of my worst nightmares. Paralyzed by fear, I watched in terror as the figure approached, its movements deliberate and unhurried, as if relishing the fear emanating from me like a tangible force. A surge of adrenaline coursed through my veins, propelling me backward in a frantic scramble. My heart pounded against my ribs as I pressed myself against the cold, unyielding wall, realizing there was no escape, no place left to hide. The cell phone stalker had me cornered, like a helpless prey in the clutches of a predator. As the figure drew nearer, its twisted features slowly came into focus in the dim light, revealing a face contorted with malice and disdain. Recoiling in terror, my mind spun with disbelief. How could this nightmare be real? What had I done to deserve such relentless torment? But there was no time for answers, no time for regret or sorrow. With a sudden, swift movement, the figure lunged forward, its hands outstretched like talons, hungering for me with a chilling intensity. With a piercing scream that shattered the silence, I raised my phone like a weapon, its weak glow casting light on the fear etched on the face before me. And then, in a blinding burst of light, the darkness shattered like glass, vanishing into thin air as if it had never existed. Blinking in the sudden brightness, I found myself standing alone once more, the echoes of my scream fading into the night like a distant memory. Gasping for breath, I slumped against the wall, my body trembling from the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The events that had just unfolded seemed surreal, like a twisted nightmare that refused to release its grip on my mind. Doubt gnawed at me, questioning the validity of what I had experienced. Was it all a figment of my imagination, a product of my own tortured psyche? My hands shook as I reached for my phone, dreading what I might find. I half expected it to be empty, devoid of any trace of the horrors that had unfolded before my eyes. But as I stared at the screen, my heart sank. There, in bold letters, was a chilling message from an unknown sender, etched into the display like a haunting omen. "I'll be watching, dear, always." A shiver ran down my spine, resonating deep within my soul. I silenced the phone and tossed it aside, its glow casting eerie shadows across the room. In the silence of the night, I knew that this nightmare was far from over. The presence of the cell phone stalker loomed over me, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the opportune moment to strike again. As I huddled in the darkness, a heavy sense of dread settled in my heart. I realized that true freedom would forever elude me, for the haunting glow of that phone would forever serve as a chilling reminder of the horrors that lay just beyond my comprehension. Time slipped away in a haze of anxiety and dread for me. The encounter with the stalker who had been harassing me through my phone had left me deeply unsettled, making me feel constantly surveilled, even within the confines of my own home. Shadows seemed to conceal sinister intentions, and every noise reverberated with the echoes of unseen terrors. Seeking answers, I immersed myself in the history of the quaint town, meticulously sifting through ancient newspapers and dusty records in search of any reference to the enigmatic phenomenon that had plagued the community for ages. However, the more I delved into my investigation, the more the truth seemed to slip away from my grasp, like sand slipping through my fingers in a gust of wind. It was on a restless night, bathed in the eerie glow of my phone, that I stumbled upon a web of whispers and speculations that hinted at the nature of the darkness that loomed over the town. According to local lore, the stalker was not a mere figment of imagination. It was a malevolent spirit, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, condemned to roam the digital realm in search of souls to torment. The origins of this entity remained shrouded in mystery, its intentions unfathomable, but one thing was clear: it thrived on fear, deriving sustenance from the terror it instilled in its victims like a voracious predator. Equipped with this newfound knowledge, I made a firm decision to confront the entity that had transformed my life into a living nightmare. I refused to become its victim, refusing to hide in fear like a scared child. I was determined to confront it head-on, armed only with my bravery and my unwavering will to survive. With a resolute determination, I stepped out into the night, feeling the icy wind nip at my skin as I navigated the empty streets of that desolate town. The phone incessantly buzzed with messages from unknown numbers, each one more bone-chilling than the last, but I paid them no mind, my focus fixed solely on the task that lay ahead. Eventually, I arrived at the outskirts of the town, where the dense forest loomed like a sinister specter against the backdrop of the moonlit sky. Taking a deep breath, I plunged into the shadows, my heart pounding in my chest as I maneuvered through the labyrinthine maze of trees and underbrush. The forest seemed alive with the murmurs of unseen creatures, the rustling of leaves, and the creaking of branches overhead. Nevertheless, I pressed forward, my determination unyielding, until I finally reached the heart of the woods, a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow, where the air crackled with an electric energy that sent shivers cascading down my spine. And there, amidst the swirling mist, stood the tormentor of my cell phone, a distorted apparition of flickering light and shadow, its eyes ablaze with a malevolent gleam as it regarded me with an icy, emotionless malice. From the depths of the void, a voice resounded, chilling and filled with disdain. "Do you have the audacity to defy me, mortal? Do you possess the courage to confront the darkness that dwells within?" Yet, I stood my ground, my head held high, my unwavering gaze piercing through the darkness. "I am not afraid of you," I proclaimed, my voice resonating with a bravery I never knew existed within me. "I refuse to be your prey. I refuse to succumb to fear." Enraged by my defiance, the Stalker unleashed a tempest of darkness, its form contorting and twisting. However, I remained steadfast, my determination unyielding, as I delved deep into my being and unleashed a power I never knew I possessed, a power born from the depths of my own resilience, fueled by the radiance of my own valor. In that moment, the darkness recoiled, retreating into the shadows from whence it came. With a triumphant cry, I banished the malevolent Stalker from the realm of the living, casting it into the abyss with a flick of my wrist. With the first light of day breaking through the darkness, I emerged from the depths of the forest, feeling a surge of determination coursing through my veins. The nightmare had ended, the shadows dispersed, yet I understood that the battle was far from over. The specter of the cell phone Stalker may have been banished, but its haunting memory would linger, a constant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the inner strength we all possess. Stepping into the dawn of a new beginning, I embraced the certainty that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would confront them with bravery and an unyielding resolve. I held firm to the belief that our courage and determination are the guiding forces that propel us towards our goals, no matter how daunting the journey may seem. Are you a fan of all things horror, or just someone who loves a good fright? Look no further than our channel, Undefined Horror Whispers, where we have a little something to satisfy every taste. So, if you're ready to be spooked, join us and get ready for a thrilling experience. Thanks for being a part of our terrifying journey. Thanks for